I didn't have a name for it. I didn't know what to call the network or anything. So that's what I worked on through the summer. And then I announced it in late July, beginning of August, right before Gamescom. And GameIndustry.biz wrote about it. And then it just snowballed after that. A lot of women reached out and said, like, yes, I want to be a part of this. Really experienced women from the games industry.
Welcome to the Rise and Play podcast. I am Sophie Vaux, your host and leadership coach. In the show, my wonderful co-host and I sit down with influential and diverse leaders from the gaming industry to hear about their leadership journey. Not the well-polished stories, but the real stories. The up and down, the breakthrough, and the failures. Or should we rather say learnings? Each episode will transport you into a magical space of vulnerability with our guest. And together, you'll be reminded that no matter how hard it is, you are not alone in this journey and find the courage to keep going. Come and join the ride. Let's begin. As a former product leader who worked 16 years in the gaming industry, I know how difficult it is to get reliable and usable player insights. The logistics of scheduling, recruiting the right players, collecting and reviewing feedback, it is all time away from game development. But you know how fundamental it is to test assumptions with your core audience and iterate at a lower cost before marketing an unproven game. I am proud to announce Playtest Cloud as our key partner, as I have believed since day one in the quality of your service and their mission to democratize player research. Playtest Cloud can take the hassle out of organizing game research yourself and delivers results within 48 hours, allowing you to implement changes in time for your release. Having been a long-time user of the platform, it is the industry standard used by top AAA and mobile studios, and now they also support indie developers with special pricing. Working for a year on the wrong game is an expensive mistake, and you can de-risk it now by investing in your player research. Check out the show notes for a free trial and learn more about Playtest Cloud. Welcome to a new episode of Rise and Play, and this is a new episode for the new year, 2025. We're right on time, and I'm excited to have on the podcast today Bibbi Wickman. So Bibbi serves as the head of brand and business at Aurora Punks, is an early-stage investor, co-developer, business developer, and publisher based in Stockholm, Sweden. And additionally, very recently from 2024, actually, she's the founder of Playcap, the first angel network with experienced women in the game industry. Bibbi had a degree in communication science, has 16 years of experience in branding, communication, and digital marketing. And she has her own company called Pixel that offers game marketing and branding services specialized for games and tech. And we'll get also more into that. But for this morning, today, Bibbi, welcome. Welcome also to be that early, like opening the new year on this episode. Very pleased to have you here.
Thank you, Sophie. Excited.
Yeah, and so for the context, we connected over the summer when Bibbi, you had that idea to start Playcap. I remember we were in that pivotal moment and should I do it? Should I not do it? And I'm very glad you did it because since then we had over hundreds of women that joined the syndicate, already 2 investments done. And yeah, here we are also today to discuss more what's to come for Playcap. So before we get into that, I would like to also ask about your background before you started Playcap, whether it's in games or out of games, and also your background as an investor.
Yeah, like you said in the intro, I've been working with marketing and branding for the last 16 years after I graduated from communication science school here in Sweden. And I got into the games industry around 6 years ago when I started my own company called Pixel. I started doing my own angel investments a few years ago, and that has been in games, but I'm also doing investments in tech companies, tech funds, and also RadCap, which is women-only fund focused on investing in women-led companies.
So I have a question more as an independent investor, because that might be relevant to, so for the ones who will see the video, we have a guest here on camera, a cat. As you had your first investment, maybe what were the things that went well in your first investment? I guess I assume you did it independently, but also maybe some gaps of what you felt was missing when you had your first investments in games. I've been also in that place, so that's why I'm asking that, where for me being part of a group has been helpful, but before I didn't really have any confidence, I guess, to invest when I wasn't part of a collective. So how has been that journey for you as an investor?
Yeah, I think my journey as an investor, and maybe also why I started PlayCap, is that I did my own due diligence on the companies that I invested in. I took some advice from other people that were also invested into these companies or were about to invest. That's kind of like how I started. I wanted to do investment into early companies because I wanted to also be able to follow their whole journey and support them in as many ways as I can. I could only do due diligence out of my own perspective. So it was really important to actually be able to ask other people about their opinions about investments. And what I also have felt in my first investments is that I can only support the studios with my own knowledge. If they have questions about things that I might not have expertise in, it's harder for me to give the best insights, of course. So I think that's why it's always important. It's always important to have a network around you that you can also talk to be able to support the studios in the best way possible.
Mm-hmm. And that leads me to the question then as an investor, because any investment can be also quite personal, right? So I've heard many different motivation where you can want to be a very strategic investor and invest to have a very clear return in a certain time window. And others, like you said, it could be also supporting the journey of other entrepreneurs, not just helping only with capital, but sometimes, could be knowledge, network, advising. I hear the motivation that you had when you invested, and without going in detail of your investment, because it's important now as we will get into the topic of PlayCap, how happy are you with so far how your investment have turned out before you PlayCap, like let's say that phase of your early investment. And I'm happy also to share of how I'm happy with my investment 5 years ago. That could also give a background for PlayCap.
I must say I maybe focus more on passion projects. I'm trying to be more strategic nowadays when I look at investments, looking at the long term, looking at the exit possibilities and everything. But it's also important to feel the passion about the companies and the people behind the companies, because that gives you an extra strength to actually keep on supporting them through their whole journey, which I see I can do with the companies I invested in before PlayCap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's always for me interesting and nice to hear, different perspective on investing. I can show so a bit of visibility. So far, I had through actually several syndicates I was part of, a dozen of investment. Am I happy with those? I'd say overall, yes, to an extent that only one that shut down last year. But the other ones have continued to grow, either raised or found product market fit within 3 years. So it's good. But yeah, as well, if you are looking purely in terms of capital, which is really one dimension, yeah, of course, none of them have exited yet for me. But in terms of personal growth that you get by working, with entrepreneurs, having visibility on their business, having a meta view where you can, with insights, help with insights you have on one, then on the other. I found actually a lot of value there, and you create value by that macro view that you get, and also by your own expertise, by having a bit of influence on, how to help and support the entrepreneurial journey. That sometimes just not material, but also can be emotional. It's hard to build a company for entrepreneurs. Okay, so let's get into, as you have had that background, you were busy already, summer 2024, you have those thoughts. I'm curious about what was the process for you to say, I'm going to start this? Because before off the record, we were even exchanging, like, why now? Why you? Could have been anyone, could have never happened. Why it happened last summer and you? So I'm curious, what was the process when you decided to start PlayCap?
It was quite a long process. I mean, I started a few years ago doing my own angel investments, and I was looking always for the network of people to tap into to discuss these investments. But it didn't really have a shape. Back then, I was like, oh, maybe we should get together a group of people and discuss cases together, but it never really happened. And then I heard about Joachim McCrane's angel network, and I thought, like, I could do this. I mean, not maybe the same way as Joachim does it, because I want a more possibility to work together with the network and discuss cases. I know Joachim is more focused on presenting cases that he were planning to invest in. I wanted to create more a network where we actually work together and look at cases, and also teach more women on how to do investments. So it's all kind of shaping together. I just realized that we have very few women that are doing investments in the game space. And I thought it must be more women that wants to do this. So I started reaching out to the women I know within the games industry in May last year on Nordic Game. And I said, like, yeah, I have this idea. I want to start a network with women doing investments. I would say like almost every woman that I met at Nordic Game said, like, hell yes, I wanna be part of this. So I felt like it is something that is actually missing. Most people said yes to it. So there is something here. That's what I felt. So I didn't have a name for it. I didn't know what to call the network or anything. So that's what I worked on through the summer. And then I announced it in late July, beginning of August, right before Gamescom. And GameIndustry.biz wrote about it. And then it just snowballed after that. A lot of women reached out and said, like, yes, I want to be a part of this. Really experienced women from the games industry. So something has been missing, and PlayCap showed that.
Beautiful. And I like to reflect on that moment, because timing matters. I think in those initiatives, like you said, it's not something you woke up one morning and thought, okay, I'd like to, you've been contemplating it for a while. And I always look at how you start, ventures, businesses, a bit like a product, and you start to talk to your audience, see what is the demand. You present it like something very prototypey, because I remember at that time it was a name, that's good, a page, a landing page you sign, and then you just collect the names. And then I remember it started exactly to snowball, to grow. So a point of reflection, why now, why last summer? And I have been doing also the same work, more on the side of leadership, supporting leaders in the industry, more different leaders, therefore also women. And something I have noticed as well for women who have grown in experience, I would say 5 to 10 years in the gaming industry. So in the past, the topic was, let's have more women in the industry. We have had more, still not at the parity level. I mean, it's more 30% still. But as those women have reached the industry over a decade, they have gathered experience, resources, money. And I have sensed also that need of a community and a power network, I will call it this way, right? So it's not just community where other groups are actually fulfilling that purpose, like Women in Games, where you are there, but it's a big, broad community that grew really big, that it feels also a little impersonal. For example, I do a lot of work with Women in Games, but if you go really niche and segmented, it's not there for me in like very personal relationship that I can build. And that's, I think, what some women getting more in seniority, a bit more leadership, wealth, started to realize, what is my circle? And that PlayCap for me did that, created that container where suddenly all those women were looking for a space to identify themselves, like, I want to be part of that power network. Like we see many power network. We don't call them men power network, but they are power network led by men, right? So women were looking for their power network where they would feel in majority. And I see that has happened. I don't know what's your take on that, if you had the chance to also observe things around it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has become a great power network. Something that, I mean, you can never really foresee what's going to happen when you announce something and who's going to join. But I think PlayCap has turned into a very strong brand, and definitely with all the great women that has joined PlayCap and announced it on LinkedIn that they are a part of it. So I definitely see that it is a space for women with a lot of knowledge to actually be able to share it broader than maybe just the company that they're working for. They can actually share their knowledge they have with working for several years in this industry. They can share with new companies starting up in this industry. So, and maybe it's also more like a women thing that we want to share a lot of our knowledge. And this has really turned into space for that. And yeah, I'm grateful every time I look into our Discord channels and see all the expertise that we have there. You can always ask a question and you get like expert answers on it from the women in PlayCap. Doesn't even have to be around investments, but that's the topic we are surrounded around. So that is something that is really important. But it's also, I mean, with investments, you talk about the industry, you talk about the future of the industry, you talk about what to think about in several ways. So it's so much bigger, of course, than just saying like, is this a good or bad investment? It's also in a whole landscape of the games industry.
Yeah, like you said, it starts to become a knowledge platform where women are elevating each other with the knowledge they have and bridging the gaps of knowledge, especially when we look at investment. It's really technical, sometimes monetarily, and there's a lot of learning by conversation. We'll get into that, what are the resources that are offered with PlayCap, but I'd like to acknowledge as well all that has happened the past 6 months. So you kick off somewhere July, and we are now in January. So can you give us an overview on the number of members that are part of PlayCap, the profile of women, without getting in details again of personal information, the type of investment, the deals that are presented? Yeah, a snapshot of where PlayCap is today. And then maybe we'll talk after about the next steps. Huh?
Yeah, so we are around 150 women in PlayCap today. And it's steadily growing. I always get applications, I would say like maybe once a day or something, sometimes more. So it's steadily growing. We have closed 2 investments. We're looking into closing a third one right now. And I would say the profile of the women that has joined is very spread. We have this mirror board where we can see the expertise of the women, and I would say it's quite spread in many different areas within games. Anything from legal to business development to leadership to, I mean, of course, marketing and HR. And so it's quite a spread. What unites the women is that all of the women is from the games industry, have been working somehow within games. And most of them have quite a few years behind them from various roles in mostly bigger companies, but also, a spread of companies. Yeah. And also women that are already doing investments. Some women are coming from other VC funds, has joined PlayCap. And that really shows that this works, because I want a mix of women that have a lot of experience from investments mixed with women that wants to learn how to do investments in this space.
Yeah, and the network is really defined by the value, the profile of the women that join the network. So I can say, like, from the other side, also as a member and being there from the beginning, to see really amazing diversity of women profile, but there's something in like the expertise, definitely their seniority and complementary. So I can see how this could be also very powerful in the future for whoever wants an investment and support from a network, because it's not just a network we're sitting here, but you can have quite a lot of support in a complementary way with multiple crafts that are served part of the network. And that's a value in itself of the network, right? How the value of the people who are part of the network. So it's incredible. So much happened within 6 months, which was just an idea and coming up with a name. But it shows also there's really a timing and a demand and appetite for women to be more in investment, building their assets. So I'm talking about the women thinking about their financial health, and on the other side as well, attracting companies that would want to have PlayCap members investors on the cap table. So could you share more so about what's on the other side, about the kind of deals you receive are presented, what's the process, and what's maybe in the future? Because I know there's things also developing for future deals part of PlayCap. So the company side.
Yeah, so how PlayCap is structured is that we have an investment committee. So we have several women from the network collaborating to look at the cases that are coming in through our website. That's one part of our deal flow. A second part of our deal flow is that I network a lot with other VCs and investors to get part of their deal flow. I mean, since the network is very much a knowledge sharing network, we will be investors and really provide something to the companies that we are investing in. So I feel like it is like many other game VCs are very positive to collaborate together with us because they know that we will actually be there and support the studios in many ways. So I keep on working on that network, and I think that is maybe our most important way of cases coming in. We've been absolutely flooded with cases coming in through the website. Yeah, I'm sorry to all the people that have been waiting for answers from us, but it's been a lot of cases coming in, and I think that is also very positive because many people mention in their pitches or in their descriptions that they really want to have PlayCap on their cap table because they start reflecting around that it's important also to have women maybe as a part of their board or having insights from women in their studios. So I'm really grateful for that we already have a very positive vibe around PlayCap.
Yeah, totally. Great validation again. As I see, this is non-arguable that there's a demand and there's a need. So the timing actually, I feel like the industry is ready and there's that awareness exactly level to have a bit more of a diversity of investors, desires from the startups, companies, and on the other end, also women readiness to start to invest. And about the readiness as investor for women, because I reflect back when I studied, I had to do a lot of the work for myself, like you had to read about financing, create my own holding, look at taxation and all those things. It was a lot of personal research. And I can see how this is a hurdle, of course, if you want even to start and it's intimidating. So that's what safe network, where you can feel vulnerable to say, I don't know. Because there's that as well for me, being part of a network where you feel everybody, men, know what they're doing. And I don't want to be the only one who don't know what I'm doing. So there's not the invitation for the safe space to say, I don't know and I need help. I see the value in a network like PlayCap, and what are the resources that have been provided so far to exactly level up the basic knowledge of investment. I know there was some initiative, but I think it's important. I would like you to share what has happened, because there was so much that happened over the past 6 months. People invited to share their knowledge, and I think there were other.
Yeah, so we try to have a meetup, a digital meetup with the women in PlayCap about once per month. And then we always invite one woman from PlayCap to give a little knowledge sharing talk. And it's been incredible. Sophie has been on one of the talks. And we also had Jessica Tums from Griffin Gaming Partners, who had a talk recently. And yes, several more are coming. We also have Susan Cummings had a little talk about her path as a founder of now her next venture and being part of some really great studios in this industry. So that is one part of PlayCap, that we invite women to have talks and spread their knowledge, and people can actually ask questions directly to the experts in their field, which has been really, it's been great. Because like you say, it's very much a safe space where women can ask questions and don't feel stupid, because I think that could also be the case if you go into a network where everybody else are experienced investors and you feel like, is this question too low level? Or since we are a mix of women starting to do our investments and women with a lot of knowledge, like the questions can be anything and a great value for the whole network. So, and we always record these sessions so women can always tap in and re-listen to the sessions if they have something they thought about they want to hear again. And so we're creating like a knowledge database in that sense for women to explore this even more. more to understand investments and what kind of questions to look out for. And last session, we had a quite a long hour after the whole session. We stayed for an hour and just kept on discussing two of the studios that were pitching at this session, because that's also a part that we have a couple of studios pitching. And I think that's also important to listen to what kind of questions does other people have about these studios. Do I have the same questions, or what are the answers and what are the thoughts and everything? So I learned from the other women as well. At least I get confirmations on my question marks about some studios that other people also have these question marks. So it's interesting always when you get together and discuss things in that sense.
And I want to highlight that part where I have been part of a few syndicates where usually it's encouraged to not have discussion. So you're left on your own and you shouldn't express even your thoughts to not influence others. I mean, every syndicate has their own, of course, principles. But I can see also how, again, if you are learning and not having confidence, and then you have to check with your own thoughts, it's another barrier to even invest, right? So creating the space where you can exchange. And if you need then opinions before you can invest, then, it's not incorrect either. But I see that the tendency is not to have exactly conversation or not in public. So that's something I really appreciate about Playcap, to kind of change, I would say, some rules of how you should make an investment and just following what feels right for the group with what we have, right? So that's really important here, because otherwise, if we keep the rules, we may never access it, right? It's just that far to reach. And so we need to create a bit of our own space. And I see how Playcap is transforming to be its own thing. And that's why when we were asking for looking into reference, what else is there that looks like Playcap right now? It's hard to find because it's being created very organically based on demand and who's part of the group and what we need. So I really love that about how it's growing very organically. I'd like to touch on the part now also more about what Playcap is not, because is it a fund? Will it be a fund? What you can expect as joining as an investor as Playcap or a company. So some challenges, some gaps that you are comfortable to share of where Playcap is today.
Yeah, like you say, it's not a VC fund right now. That doesn't say it won't be that in the future. We will see. So how it works right now is that we are an angel syndicate. So we present cases. Each woman in Playcap can decide for themselves if they want to join in on an investment and the amount they want to invest. And we pool it together into an SPV, and we invest as one entity into the cap table of the studio or the company that we want to support. We are not a network only for women founders. We are on the same ballpark as all other investors, and that's where we want to stay, because I think that's where we can actually do the best or greater impact, to actually also talk to male-led studios. I always feel like in the conversations, somebody actually brings up something that they start reflecting on. Since it's other women in the room, they start reflecting on how is their company structured. If it's only men, they start to talk about, like, we are considering having more women on the team, and we think it's important. We want to be for the women players as well. And I mean, they start reflecting over these questions because it's women in the room. So I think that's game companies are so used to only pitching to men that they forget about all the women that are in this space, both as the great knowledge that we have, because we've been working in this industry for as long as all the other people, but we also have a big player base that are women. What we're not a passive investment group. We want to be active. We want to work together with the companies and support them and be able to tap into our network of the wide knowledge. So if any founder has any question or something they need help with, we are a network where we can always pull in expertise to help out, at least giving advice. I mean, I know a lot of other syndicates are shaped as you're doing an investment and then you back out and wait for stuff to happen. I don't believe in that process really. I think from my own experience, I really appreciate when investors can actually be part of shaping the company as well and giving advice, bringing the network in. So I think that is an important thing that I want us to be active, and I think we can really help accelerate the companies in that sense, because we have a lot of knowledge that we can tap into. I mean, we're not a general investment platform. We invest in the games industry. We are coming from games and we invest in the games industry, whether it's game tech companies or game studios or anything that is in games. That is what we are investing in.
Like that active part of helping, which I agree, is like these days, just pouring money into a company is not, it's not going to be fully helpful, because there's knowledge and there's collective wisdom. So I definitely see that really as a big asset of Playcap. And one thing I see in the profile of women being part of a network, is some of them are independent. And I've seen that also some funds actually working this way, where they bring services, a range of services to help and support the portfolio of companies. We're not there yet with Playcap, but this is a possible avenue given the strength of the network and their expertise. So where are and we can leave it open, I'm not saying plan, but thoughts going into how Playcap could develop in that mission to bring more women as investors, but also support companies that decide to be with Playcap, how they are shaped and become successful.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of possibilities there, and I look forward to sharing some things in 2025. What's going to happen later? I mean, everything has its steps, and now we have been sorting out everything with the investment committee and how people can join, how they can share knowledge in our Discord channels, how our sessions works, and I definitely think in 2025 we will take some next steps of what Playcap is, and I think. Knowledge sharing is something that we will focus on. Of course, the studios that we are investing in, something that we will work closer with. But I think just like the knowledge sharing between the women we're going to try to make it even bigger in some ways. And maybe we will share something publicly as well in that terms, and have talks from women in Playcap to investors and to founders and everything, where they can share their expertise. So things are coming, but this is also something that we decide on within the network. So yeah, I can't share anything exactly right now, but we're definitely gonna grow in many ways.
Mm-hmm. And I'd like to dedicate the last minutes for today more focused on you. So we talked a lot about Playcap, but I see this is a lot of work, and I appreciate, how, and as more women companies come, then there will be like growth. How do you manage your time in doing the work for Playcap? And what does it mean for you?
It's definitely a lot of work. I don't know if I would say more than I expected. I expected it to be a lot of work, but it's also something that gives me a lot of energy. There's a lot of positive things happening when I see discussions happening organically in the Discord channels, which are really fruitful for all the women that are in there and can read on it. I love that women are so giving in that sense in Playcap, that they are sharing their expertise. Of course, it's always sensitive to talk about an investment, but I can see somebody posting like, these are the things to look out for. But then a second person comes like, and these are also things to think about. So we give a broader picture than I would say any other angel network that I know of, because we actually keep discussing things. And so back to me. It's a lot of time spent, of course, on Playcap, and I also have a full-time job besides that, and 2 kids and a dog and a summer house. So I mean, of course, a lot of my time is focused around work right now. I can only be grateful, because I'm really just where I want to be right now, focused on making Playcap even better and bigger. And that gives me energy right now. And of course, the family as well. So
it's impressive with, the different roles you have to juggle with. But again, when something energizes you, it doesn't feel so much a chore, and then you can do quite a lot of work there, because it's not considered as work. So that I can see that for you. And wanted to also share really appreciation, because that was a much needed space. So thanks for starting it. And I'm very grateful for all the women who joined and contributed to the movement to just share knowledge with each other. I've attended a few talks as well, and it's really solid knowledge. Everyone can learn something new each time from conversation, and it's rare to find those spaces. So all that to say, for the ones listening here, well, I'm sorry if you're not a woman, but for the women, I know there are many listening, consider joining PlayCap. And even if you're not ready to invest right now, investment starts from the moment you decide that you will, and then you learn with along other investors. And the day you're ready, then you will be ready. But you start by being ready by joining, a network. And for the companies who are resonating with what we share today, what we have to offer, as a network, PlayCap, but also exactly those perspectives, as you mentioned, Bibbi, then reach out to PlayCap on the website. I think this is the way to submit through a form. Sorry, more work for you, Bibbi. And then is there a way that I haven't mentioned that for people to reach out? There's PGC London coming next. Yeah, things that I haven't covered, Bibbi, that you would like to share.
Yeah, I'm going to be on the investment panel on Pocket Gamer in London. And yeah, you can also find me on Meet to Match if you have a interesting concept coming up in the games industry.
Well, thanks a lot, Bibbi, for creating the space for PlayCap. I'm also super excited of what we'll develop. I have also a lot of ideas. And the thing is, that's the beauty of it. As members, we are shaping actually their space to co-create. And so that's also what I'm really excited about PlayCap in 2025. So thanks for initiating it.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to this latest episode of the Rise and Play podcast. We keep growing our community of conscious leaders across the industry and beyond. If you want to join this movement, please share the podcast with other conscious leaders, because we have so much more we can learn from each other. And if you want to accelerate your growth, I offer creative leadership coaching and workshop, plus other free resources that you can find on riseandplay.io. I can't wait to connect with you. Have a great week, and remember to take care of yourself. Until the next time,